Box jumping is one of the strange phenomenons of the Source engine, and in this video I will talk about how I discovered it and hopefully teach you how to do it yourself. The first recorded box jump happened in June of 2014 and was completely accidental. I had no idea what happened and I didn't even think about it again for a very long time. Several months later, at the end of October, I made an unlisted video showcasing a route to get onto the roof of the building on the old Robert Lee, and part of that route involved me running off of a box to get enough speed to jump onto the final roof. Immediately after this, I started messing around with this strange box run boost trick, and discovered that jumping into the side of the box would propel me farther than jumping off the top of it. I used this newfound trick and had tons of fun with my friend Gregory, and I even made a box jump frag video. Even though it was very poorly edited, it showcased the extreme movement abilities that I had with box jumping. I could easily pull off a box jump and then bunny hop to maintain my speed, and I would fly into enemies' faces. It was a lot of fun. It was some of the best fun I had ever had, in fact. Mainly because it was my trick, and I had discovered it.
I'm sorry, I can't help it. I won't do that again.
Fast forward several months to the very end of 2014. I was unable to find the specific update and its release date, but it's somewhere between December 20th and the 1st of January. Ariel updated the game's version of the engine. Unfortunately for me, box jumping was no longer a thing. I was upset about box jumping being fixed, but I kind of expected it, since it was a fairly big exploit. I continued to play Fistful of Frags with Gregory, and discovered many other bugs and exploits, some of which were patched after I made tutorials on them. Then, I stopped playing the game altogether for the first time. In October of 2015, I launched the game again, and messed around with boxes, hoping that maybe there was still a way to box jump. To my surprise, there was. I discovered that placing two boxes beside each other with a small gap in between would result in a box jump, very similar to the ones I had done before. The only problem was that it was way less consistent, and since it required two boxes, I was limited to where I could do it. Over the next few weeks, I collected clips and made my second box jump frag video, Box Jumping Reborn. I was super happy with it, but I stopped playing Fistful of Frags for the second time after the video was completed. In February of 2016, I got back into the game, and did basically the same thing as before. Get frags, make a frag video, and then stop playing. This time, however, I quit mainly because I discovered that every update, no matter how big or small, broke all demos recorded in previous versions of the game, and this hit me hard because I had a large collection of demos that I never got to do anything with. I have since then discovered that the beta tab for the game has a public beta, which is actually the previous public version of the game, and so I can use that whenever there's an update to go back and record all of my demos that I need to get recorded. That is pretty much the complete history of box jumping. Now begins the tutorial. Box jumping isn't something I've been able to really explain to people. I've only been able to show people how to do it by doing it myself, and having them copy it. However, for this tutorial, I'm going to attempt to explain what has to happen for a successful box jump to occur. In these clips you can see that when I get myself stuck inside of a box, or any other prop, my velocity will do one of four things. It will either stay at 0 and the box will slide out of me, it will get stuck at 4.5, it will get stuck around 11 to 12 and go up extremely slowly, or it will rapidly increase. Now if I let my velocity go up a large amount, and then I break the box and start spamming jump, I will launch out at incredible speed, and if done correctly, I can maintain that speed for a short while by b-hopping. What is happening? Well, it's quite simple. I have a large amount of velocity from being clipped inside the box, and when the box is broken, I am no longer constrained, and I will fly out at the velocity that I had built up to. Now that we know what happens when a player is clipped inside of a box, I shall explain the process of a successful box jump from before single box jumping was fixed. First, the player jumps into the side of the box and the box starts to roll forward. As the box reaches about 45 degrees, it clips inside of the player due to a bug in the old Source engine. Now the player is clipped inside of the box and builds up velocity extremely quickly. The box continues to rotate forward and glitch out a bit, and the player gets pushed out of the box and is thrown into the air using the velocity that was just built up. For the new Source engine version, the process is almost the same, but requires one additional box to make it work. The reason the second box is needed is because boxes will now fully rotate when the player jumps into them, and the player won't get clipped in it. The second box acts as a blocker, stopping the first box from rotating completely. Ideally, the first box will reach about a 45-degree rotation and then get stopped by the second box. This allows the player to get clipped in it and build up velocity and shoot out. As you can see, there are many more factors that come into play when doing a box jump now compared to doing one in the old engine. The boxes have to be positioned in a way that will allow the first box to rotate enough, but if the boxes are too far apart, the box will rotate all the way over. The boxes also must be positioned in a way that they won't slide against each other, which seems to be mostly random and uncontrollable. The last tip I have for box jumping is to try and jump into the upper middle region of the box. If your player comes into contact with the lower half of the box, it just won't rotate. Even if you do everything correctly, there is unfortunately no consistency at all. Box jumping requires patience and luck, so you will need to be willing to play for hours at a time to get box jumps. I usually get about a 1 to 10% successful box jump rate. The most frustrating problems are when boxes just don't rotate, with seemingly no reason at all, or when they slide instead of rotating. There's practically nothing you can do to avoid this, you just need to keep trying. As dumb as it sounds, when I box jump, it's more about the feeling than technical precision. I casually throw the boxes approximately the right distance from each other, and when I touch the box, I can usually feel if it's going to be a successful box jump or not. Now it's time for you to practice. First, create a listen server with no bots on a map with boxes and forget everything I just told you. Now place the boxes beside each other and jump into them until you get a box jump. Remember to hold W until you get launched. Once you're in the air, you can let go of W and airstrafe all you want. Much like rocket jumping in TF2, it's one thing to do it offline, but you need to practice it on real servers because it feels very different and is way less consistent. When you're on a listen server, you will, with enough practice, be able to box jump almost every time. In real servers, it's completely different. You'll have to deal with boxes not cooperating way more, and the consistency will be way lower. The ideal server to practice on is the server with no bots, but that can be hard to find. From my own experience, I can say that box jumping with more than 50 ping is very difficult to do. It is possible, but it's very hard, and it doesn't happen a lot.